When the call came through, I was stitching a man's chest back together. Gunshot wound, routine, almost calming in its predictability. But the nurse's voice cracked through the intercom. "Dr. Hale, Trauma Bay 3. Your wife and your brother." I froze mid-suture. My hands didn't tremble, they never do. I just stared at the patient's open chest and said quietly, "Close him up." Then I walked out. By the time I reached the ER, they were both unconscious. 2 stretchers, side by side, faces covered, the smell of burned rubber and blood thick in the air. I caught the attending physician's arm. "I'm their next of kin," I said. "I need to see them." He hesitated. I could see it, the flicker of pity, confusion, maybe fear. "You must not look," he said softly. I frowned. "Why?" He swallowed. "Because you won't forget what you see." That's when I smiled. A small, bitter smile. Too late, I thought. A year ago, Evelyn and I were the kind of couple people envied. She was a literature professor, quiet, perceptive, endlessly patient. And my brother, Daniel, he was everything I wasn't. Reckless, charming, effortlessly loved. I used to defend him. Even after our parents left everything to me, I gave him half. I thought that would make us equals. I was wrong. The betrayal didn't scream, it whispered. It began with Evelyn's phone lighting up at midnight, a saved contact under Caroline, a message that read, "Same place tomorrow?" I asked her about it once. She smiled, said it was a colleague. I nodded, pretending to believe her. But I've spent too many nights reading ECGs and vital signs not to recognize patterns. Lies have rhythms too. When she started staying late on grading nights, I began recording her car's GPS routes. When Daniel began dropping by unannounced, I noticed how his cologne lingered long after he'd gone. And when I finally checked the footage from our home's security camera, the one I installed after a supposed break-in, I saw them. In the living room, on the couch where we used to fall asleep watching old movies. She looked happy. He looked proud. I didn't feel rage, just silence. A long, clear silence that stretched through my veins and steadied my pulse. That's when the plan began. Revenge, contrary to what people think, isn't a storm. It's surgery. Precise, calculated, clean. First, I moved money, quietly. I transferred her savings into joint accounts she thought were hers, then drained them to cover household expenses. I made sure Daniel's business, his garage, got audited. A few well-placed complaints, some missing invoices, the IRS did the rest. Then I waited. I invited them both to dinner 3 months later, told them I wanted to talk. Closure, I called it. Evelyn wore a red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. Daniel brought his grin. I served wine. Expensive. Poison-free. I wasn't that kind of man. But I was the kind who could rig a car. They left together that night, the same road they always took to the cabin. A sharp turn by the lake. I'd adjusted the brake line, just enough for it to fail under pressure, not suspicion. When the call came hours later, 2-car accident, both critical, I felt nothing. Only a strange clinical curiosity. Until the doctor said, "You must not look." They both survived. Barely. 3rd-degree burns, shattered bones, nerve damage. Life would never return to them the way it had been. Evelyn's face was unrecognizable. Daniel lost his left leg. They'd live, if you could call it that. I made sure of it. I visited them eventually, weeks later when the worst had passed. They were in separate rooms, but the silence was the same in both. When Evelyn saw me, her eyes filled, not with guilt, but horror. She understood. "Why?" she whispered through a split lip. I leaned in close so she could feel the cold edge of the truth. "Because you both taught me how fragile love is," I said. I just returned the lesson. After that, I quit surgery, moved to another city, sold the house, burned the memories. I still wake at 3:17 a.m., the time of the crash, listening to the phantom sound of twisting metal. But it doesn't haunt me. it reminds me. People call it vengeance. I call it equilibrium. Because sometimes justice doesn't wear a robe. Sometimes it wears a wedding ring and a steady hand. And when I close my eyes at night, I don't see the wreck. I see the doctor's face, his warning echoing in my mind. You must not look. But I did, and I've never seen anything clearer.